We're live. What a good old-fashioned Big East brawl that was. You guessed it, guys. We're locked on live.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's live show, I just want to say a thank you. We're doing amazing here at Locked On UConn. The show couldn't be any better. We're top college basketball program on the network in terms of downloads on audio, on Apple Top 100, and it's only because of fans like you. So we really want to appreciate and say thank yous for that. We love covering the hoops capital of the world. Only daily podcast covering both the UConn men's and women's basketball. Shout out to hopefully Paige Beckers is okay. She suffered a knee injury today in the Villanova win earlier. So, but also, you guys also know that we're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project and the people over with Kevin Solomon, helping send kids to some UConn games. I'm sure there were kids there today. So we help make monthly donations there. If you're enjoying the show, take a moment to subscribe, follow. If you leave a review, if you've already subscribed, well, I know I'm going to have a lot of people on the live show. Please do me a favor. Review the show. You don't have to like it. You can even give us a crappy review. I don't care. I want you to be honest. Leave a review. Give us solid info. 1 star to 5 star. Hopefully you're loving it, and that's why you listen. If it's a hate watch, that's cool too. But really appreciate everyone that jumps in on Locked On UConn. Hopefully it's your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There it is. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right. This is a tale of two halves. Trust me, there's a lot of people on the live show. I'm going to put the link in the chat here shortly. I have Tyler backstage. I'm going to get to him in a few minutes here, less than that, because I want to hear from everybody because I was really pissed off in the first half, and I think it's for good reason because I think we all were. And I think the biggest issue was defense. We started off offensively. I thought we did a good job. We took what was given. They were really overplaying. And so we're using Sampson as the outlet to then use, like, he made a couple great backdoor passes, give and goes with Alex, made a couple backdoor passes to Solo. I think our first 14 points were all in the paint. We didn't hit a 3 until late in the first half. And I think that was either Solo or Alex. And then Aiden hit a 3 as well. So it really wasn't a typical game for us but this is how teams are going to play us without Liam because they don't feel like anybody can really take over a game. So that's why that first half was so kind of infuriating in that respect, where it was just like, who is going to step up? Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Aiden? Is it going to be Alex? Is it going to be? And here's the thing. It kind of can't be Alex, especially off the dribble. It can be Alex when he makes great, heady plays, cuts, screens, all of that. It has to be a Solo, has to be Haas, who eventually had probably a career game in respect to points. And we're going to get to everybody. But that first half was incredibly infuriating because it felt like you needed to make some adjustments. And this is why I don't coach. And I'll be the first one to admit this. I was so frustrated that Dan Hurley didn't make adjustments early, like saying, like, hey, let's get everybody out and let's let the young kids play. Let's let Ahmad play. Let's let Zay play. Let Yusuf play, get a million rebounds. And Hurley is who he is. He's him. And he essentially said, nope, we're going to let our guys, there's an old saying, you make your bed, you lie in it, right? And that's exactly what he did. He was just like, you guys got us down 11 points at halftime, eventually 14 points in the second half. We're going to make some adjustments for you, but by putting Terrace in instead of Sampson for most of the second half. But they made adjustments because he stuck with his guys and they rewarded him with his patience, right? All right. I'm going to put the link in the chat. I'm going to get Tyler in here. Then I got Matt Edwards driving to the ferry. Definitely want to get him in, and let's get those guys in immediately. Let's get Tyler. Let's get Matt.
Can you hear me?
What's up? Matt, I can hear you, brother.
It's not connecting through the car, so I didn't know how I was coming through.
Just make sure you're watching the road. We'll just listen to your voice.
I am watching.
You were there? What was your impression?
Well, I think the second half was a lot better than the first half. First half had like a little Hawaiian vibe to it, so much better.
It's the sweater.
Exactly. No, it was much better. Just the grit was great. I'm still focusing on all the bad things, how many points in the paint they give up. I can't wait to see that shot chart, and then the rebounding. They came through, and you could hear it in the huddle. The huddle right near must have been early first TV timeout in the second half. That was animated. You could hear the yelling. You couldn't hear that at all in the first half. So they were fired up, and you could tell the tide was shifting. So it was awesome to see. And it was the most I've stood for a game in Gamble ever. I didn't sit the whole second half. It was awesome.
Wow.
So that was great.
That's awesome. Matt, real quick, because Bernie's in the chat, but he's also waiting backstage. I don't know if Bernie's on social media. So Bernie, you're going to get on the show here in a minute, and then we're going to go to Tyler. But Matt is a firefighter, okay? And he wanted us to tell you that, and I'll let him tell you what it is, but essentially he hears your smoke alarms in the background every time you're on a chat. So make sure you change your batteries so you're being safe. We want you to be safe, Bernie, so that you can come in the show and make sure that your house doesn't burn down, okay?
We want Bernie to be safe and to stop driving me crazy thinking my batteries are chirping.
That's exactly right. Matt, listen, man, I appreciate you so much. It's like I told you before, you're a big reason why this Locked On show exists, because if people don't know this and you're hearing Matt Edwards' voice for the first time, go watch or listen to the Dream Season pod, because it's a fantastic telling and storytelling of Jim Calhoun's, wouldn't say his first good team, but the team that essentially started all of this in the lead up to it. And it's the inspiration for why I started to look into a UConn podcast. So I appreciate you again.
Same here, Mark. Thank you. And thanks to all their listeners. I can't wait to listen back and hear all your thoughts so you can fill me in on what the perception is of what I just watched.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon, all right?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Matt, Tyler, what's up, brother? What you think?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it, tale of two halves. Yeah, it seemed like, everyone had bright spots and everyone had, low spots. Trying to think, you're talking about like rotations. It seemed like the second half was a totally different rotation. He swapped out Sampson and Jaden. He pretty much rode Aiden and Terrace from like the 10-minute mark on, I think. So I was like, yeah, it was the best performance we've seen from Aiden. He was aggressive. He came through. He made big shots on offense, which is great to see, because we need that, or UConn needs that, right? Especially if it's going to be a liability on the defensive end. I'm trying to think here. I'm looking at the box score. Stewart played 17 minutes. I don't remember seeing him being on the court that much. I thought he was going to be less than 10. But yeah, I mean, you look at the box score. It's the points are distributed. Six players in double digits. It's their lowest 3-point shooting game. I don't know that, but they only took 13 attempts. Usually they're well over 20. Providence was very
definitely is their lowest.
Yeah, Providence was very intentional in making sure they didn't, anytime Solo was coming off the screen, they were playing it off. So like, I think my takeaway from this is like, well, this is like the silver lining of all of this is like, why UConn has been so great the last 2 years is that when they went to their bench, they didn't drop off at all. And that's the challenge right now with this team. There's a drop off. So with Liam being out, it's going to allow all these guys to get minutes. And, Ross still doesn't look good. I think he airballed a floater. He missed his 3-point shot, but he's a D1 basketball player. Like, he can make these shots, right? It's just that, my basketball career ended in high school. When I was a junior in high school, I was like fourth guy off the bench, right? So like some games I don't get in at all, and other games I do get in. When you get in and you're playing with 9 other guys on the floor that have been in the game, and you're getting in there for the first time, it's awkward as hell, because you're just you're not used to it, right? So I feel like we just need to, we're going through the growing pains. Like, Ross has not shown, he's shown flashes, but then there's also like the air ball floater, but like that's just because he hasn't been in the game. So I feel like we need to, just be a little patient there. Hassan, I mean, I was very, worried about Hassan being the point guard, but he's in the last 10 games, he's just absolutely blown me away. He is amazing.
For sure.
And I think it's like there's so much, he's taking on so much, right? Like he played 38 minutes today.
He earned his name, the General. Dan, what's up, my man? You got good service?
What's up, boys?
We can see you.
I hope so. Can you hear me? Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you're coming in clear. You have a little bit of delay, but I'm just curious what the vibe was. Matt told us, like, essentially he was there too, that it's, first half, second half was just wild. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, first half was grim. I was up in section 220 today. We were doing our best. The gentleman, I say that loosely, gentleman that I was with today, trying to stand the whole time, trying to get, we see Hurley a couple times, queuing to the crowd, get up. The vibe in the first half was just kind of bleak. UConn couldn't stop a nosebleed. Alex Caravan was getting beat off the dribble, like on ISO down low 3 or 4 times in the first half. Whistle evened out in the second half. UConn just their offense just looked a little awkward trying to get it together without Liam on the court. I think they were just trying to find their footing and figure out what to do. Sampson struggled a little in the first half. The defense was sagging off of him at the perimeter, kind of just letting him try to figure out, and he looked like a deer in headlights. Like, what do I do here? I'm not supposed to have the ball at the elbow and dictate offense. But second half, like you said, tale of two halves. Whistle evens out a little bit. I think UConn got to the bonus around the 10-minute mark.
Yep.
Mentioned it a couple times on this podcast. UConn is top 20 in the nation in in free throw percentage now. I think they shot, I haven't looked at the box score, but they were like, their splits were 55, 45, 85 within a couple minutes to go in the game. They shot the lights out in the second half. I think they went on a 26-5 run at one point. Tale of two halves. Hassan Diarra's career high, Aiden Mahaney's best game as a UConn Husky by far. And I thought the story of the game in the second half was just Terrace Reed, just a total force multiplier, game changer on both ends. He got the ball in a couple 3 or 4 possessions late, probably under 10 minutes in the second half, where they, in bailout situations, had to dump the ball down to him, and he looked comfortable as heck. A couple floaters in the lane, backed his guy down, got to the free throw line, made both. And then on the defensive end, he was just a total stopper. The game, once Sampson went out, they had some trouble getting to some loose balls in the beginning of the second half. But once Terrace came in the game, and he was just a total enforcer, and he changed the tide completely.
Without a doubt. And I'm gonna get in Big Larry here in like 10 seconds. So what I'm gonna say, because you mentioned the loose balls and the rebounding, I was getting so pissed off at the chat. And if there's people in the chat that are in the UConn chat that I'm in, I don't care. Like, I love you guys. You're all good people, but it was starting to piss me off. We were like, we need to get rebounds. It's like when your defense is terrible and you're getting blown by every time, you're constantly in rotation. So you're constantly helping. You're constantly helter-skelter. There's no continuity. So when a shot goes up, you don't know who to put a body on, and they were not getting any loose balls. And so it just that the defense when the defense was shored up, guess what happened? They started getting easy rebounds, because then you had like a wall of people to box out, and they were all not in kind of in that rotational what happens when they get you in pick and roll, or when someone blows by and then someone helps, and then you're constantly filling in for another guy. So that stuff was starting to really piss me off, is that not only were we frustrated, but the people that I was like watching the game with were like, oh man, we just can't get a rebound. I'm like, why do you think that is? Because we can't stay in front of anybody. Yeah. Like there was no ability to play defense. Oh yeah, without a doubt. And the Terrace Reed stuff,
that all changed.
1,000%.
Yeah.
All right, Larry, talk to me, baby.
It's a tough day to be an Aiden Mahaney hater right now. All you whiny little biz noches that whined about this kid and shit all over him and wanted him and left him for dead. I want an apology from him today, because Diarra, hopped on Reed's back like Master Blaster from Mad Max.
Let's
took
go
over this freaking game. I want an apology for the Mahaney fan club today, and today only.
That's right.
Shout out to the Queen, Sarah Strong. Prayers up to Paige Beckett's. Later.
Peace. Big Larry. Make it a quick and immediate performance. Yes, Larry is amazing. We give away his tickets to Gamble. So, Chris, if you're listening and you had a great time, I hope you had a good time at the game. Look, hey, Mark, what is Ken Palm for defense now? Not good, Mike. It's just like, I don't know what it is. We could look that up for you. Tyler, you mind looking that up really quick just to see what the Ken Palm is? I think
my guess is they were over 100 after last night's games. I'm gonna guess 112. I guess 112.
112 were the players dwell. Let's get Bernie in here. Let's see if he changed his smoke detectors.
UConn's 104 on Ken Palm for defense.
Okay. I'm just gonna say this. All right. Every time my smoke detector goes off, James Breeding calls the foul. Okay, I'll just say that because once again, welcome to the James Breeding UConn Providence game of 2025. That's what it was again today. I mean, the second half. I mean, first half they let them play. Second half they said, you know what? James Breeding's like, you know what? I haven't been shown enough on TV. Let me go and put myself in front of TV. Of course, people want to see me. Nobody wants to see UConn or Providence play. They want to look at me. They scored 60 second half points today. 60.
It's a lot.
When's the last time you saw a UConn team scored 60 points?
Burn
60.
Dog.
Yes.
I'll say this. They scored 60 thanks to that James Breeding whistle in the second half. Things even out a little bit, and UConn knocked down their free throws.
Yeah.
Well, let's be real. So did Providence. I mean, it's like 1 minute UConn's up 77-67. Next thing you know, it's a 80 to 84 to 80. And then it's like, it just seemed like the game that would never end. The last minute was like 15, 20 minutes. It was ridiculous. But Mahaney stepped up today. That second half, Mahaney, Reed, Diarra, those three guys sparked that comeback. Mahaney hitting huge shots, making huge plays. I mean, that circus shot that he hit that gave UConn the lead. I mean, he was unbelievable off the ball. If he just plays off the ball, man, he's huge for UConn. And it was a huge game for him. Huge. This was a big time win. Big time win. Whoop, another foul was called. Big time win.
No, but seriously, Bernie, are you gonna change your smoke detectors?
I did change them. I got like $4.99 smoke detectors in my house, man. It's like you got cheap smoke detectors. What am I supposed to do? It's like I put the 9-volt in and be like, no, I don't like this smoke detector. I want another smoke detector.
Bernie, you know what you sound like right now? I feel like I'm on the radio with Mike and the Mad Dog. I think Chris Russo's in the house right now. Get that high pitch. Hey, Bernie, I will say, and I want all of you guys to chime in here, and then we'll go to Doug because he's been waiting the longest right now. But the frustrating thing about whether it's Aiden stepping up or like, I'm not gonna give any Samson slander tonight as well because we talked about that. Dan and I have talked about this. Like, there is no Samson slander on this podcast. If you want to say it in the chat, that's cool, man. Whatever. Mm-hmm. He was not very good today especially on the defensive side and on the rebounding side. He still had 10 points. Mm-hmm. He made some great passes in the first half when he was like essentially the outlet. The whole thing that Dan keeps saying, and I think we should start probably listening to him and stop pretending like we know better than he does, is that this team is super talented. They're just different than the last 2 years. And he said we're not going to be as dominant, no matter how much people want us to be. We're still not going to be as dominant as we were the last couple of years, but we're still going to be competitive and win a bunch of games. So, and compete for a national championship. That's all we can ask for every year. And then if we have these years where we're so dominant that we kill everybody, that's also going to happen because these guys have designed this program for that, to be bulletproof. But it's just going to take a little extra this year. Like, Samson was bad today. Tara stepped up. Solo Ball had a decent game. Wasn't great. Aiden stepped up. Like, Jay Ross didn't play well. Jalen played better. Like, that's the whole thing, guys. It's like every guy has next man up mentality. So it's just the narrative all year long has to be patience. Let's figure out which game. It's going to be a game by game situation every single game, whether we have Liam or not.
I don't know how many teams in America have the luxury of pulling their starting center and having the backup play damn near every minute in the second half and being the difference in the game. Show me
No, I agree.
5 or 10 teams out of 365 Division I basketball teams that can make that change in real time and have it work out and change the game. So credit to
there's not
the
a lot.
rotations and depth of the team and Hurley pulling those strings.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like this game reminded me of last year when it was a team effort where you had 5 players on the court who scored in double figures, where you had like some kind of cohesion in the second half. And that's what they had in this set. This was atypical of the second halves that UConn has played most of this year. This second half, they played together like a unit, like they played like last year most of the year. This was the first time I actually say in the second half they played like a unit and all 5 starters on the court. I mean, they had 6 players in double figures. I mean, haven't heard that much this year, which is really, really good. But also, they're 134th in defensive efficiency in KenPom. But
pretty bad.
Switching to the women for a minute. They got Paige. I mean, Gino said that Paige is okay. That she got emotional because she thought she did something to her ACL again, but it looks like she'll be fine. They put some ice on her knee and her ice on her ankle. So hopefully it'll be like a day-to-day kind of thing. She did walk back onto the bench in her own power. So hopefully it's nothing big, nothing major on Paige, but she just was like emotional because again, for all the stuff she's been through and everything else like that, she's going to be okay. All right. I know you got a lot of people online and James Breen just called another foul. Big game, Villanova, Eric Dixon, who is a monster on the boards and can shoot from anywhere, leading scorer in the Big East and in the country. It's going to be a tough game. And that's going to be like where UConn's really going to need. I know you brought up about rebounding, but this game, UConn's really going to need to crash those boards with Dixon, big guy who can shoot outside and inside, who can rebound, can do everything. Villanova is going to be a handful. Gentlemen, as always, it's been a joy and a pleasure, and I'm going to get more expensive smoke detectors. Have a nice day.
You're the man, Bernie. All right. I'm going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to get Doug in here, and then we're going to finish up and talk about the rest of this game. All right, FanDuel fans. Big upsets, the game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. We saw a lot of great games on the NFL today. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website, share betting lines, and around the team or league. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $250 in bonus bets or $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we're back on Locked On UConn. We'll leave the FanDuel banner up. All right, guys, let's get into this a little bit. So, were you surprised at and I'm going to go to Dan first because he was there. Were you surprised that he didn't make any switches? Because you and I texted a little bit. We were frustrated. We had our little chat. I was frustrated that he didn't just go, "Hey, man, screw it. Can't be any better. Can't be any worse. I'm going to go get some young guns in there." What were your thoughts?
Yeah, we don't see Ahmad Noel again in this game. I think coming into it, you're down a man with Liam, and you expect maybe this is the game where they kind of insert him, bring him back off the bench. He was ailing that shoulder for a few weeks before the Christmas break, but like we said before, after the last game, you're starting to see that this rotation is getting whittled down a little bit. It's more selective. They're trying to find their 7 and 8 main guys that they're going to go to. Jay Ross gets to start today over Stewart. I thought there were some comments that were pretty telling from Hurley's media availability yesterday, where he talked about Jalen Stewart just needed to be a little bit more consistent and bring it nightly. So I think Jaden Ross didn't have another good game shooting, but he's super active defensively. He stood tall on a couple drives baseline that I thought were notable. But yeah, the halftime adjustments I think Terrace played a few minutes in the first half, but not many. It's interesting to me how, like, even when things might not be looking good or going well, they kind of wait to get to the second half into the locker room to make those adjustments and almost kind of try to get back to the court in the second half before making that significant change. They don't let you get to the locker room and give a hint of what they're going to do or pull in the second half rotationally. They saved Terrace for the second half, and it was the difference in the game, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Tyler. I'm going to get Doug in here, and I want to hear your thoughts. I think you're muted.
Yeah,
You're good.
I think it's hard to go against Hurley here. I agree. I guess I'm wondering, do you see at any point Terrace being inserted into the starting lineup?
No.
No,
he's way too entrenched in this. I think he likes Sampson now, and he's loyal to him because Sampson's had games where he's played better than Terrace, and Terrace just is. They just play different games. I mean, Terrace is like 50 pounds heavier than him. Yeah, they're about the same height. They're about the same height, but like, and Terrace is. I wouldn't say he's as quick, but man, that chase down block looked very Sampson-esque. So
yeah,
when Terrace's motor is going, I think that's the thing. That's the reason why Terrace doesn't start. Like, I'm being just honest here. I think if Terrace played the 8-minute stretch where he went nuts and just like block shots, was like blocking the lob passes over his head, the vicious bear, the revenant, whatever you want to call it, like that's the Terrace Reed that Dan Hurley would, make it undeniable for him to be a starter. I don't think we see that enough from Terrace, and that's the reason why he put Sampson in, because Sampson at the base of his play is he at least brings that energy. He's not always going to do the right thing. He fouls too much. He doesn't rebound as good as well for a 6'10" guy, but he's certainly effective at times. So I think that's the biggest thing. Hey, Doug, you're in, man. If you got something to say?
Yeah, absolutely. How you guys doing? Haven't been on in a couple weeks. Good to be back. Just a few things on my side. Hey, I'd call this a character game. They know they can, do what they got to do without Liam. It's unfortunate, but they can do it. They can get it done. I also, think, and I was getting a little frustrated towards the end of the game in hearing Coach Hurley from one of his pressers. He mentions this before, where they just don't have that kind of killer instinct of putting teams away. They had the comeback and they got up to 10. I think they're up 10 at the most, and they just let them back in. And got a little tight at the end, a little close for comfort. But hey, a win's a win. That's great, and that's what we want. Two other things real quick. One thing that nobody's mentioned yet, and I'm kind of shocked, that I found very interesting. If you look at Terrace's line, do you know, or maybe don't look at it line, take a guess. How many personal fouls did he have today?
One.
Uno.
Yep.
That's a huge step, I think.
Doug, do you know that when he was in the transfer portal, when I did that show 8 months ago, I said the most attractive thing about Terrace Reed is in the Big Ten, playing over 30 minutes a game for Michigan, he only averaged 2.8 fouls per game. And that is something that they 100% were in on, because they knew he was talented, but they also knew he wasn't a hacking machine.
Right. It's just for whatever reason, though, the earlier in the year, he was having his issues, whether it was the refs or whatever, it is what it is. But it was just beautiful to see that he was very aggressive on blocking and with the ball and everything, and to have one personal foul, I think, is a huge major victory. And last but not least, I think it's going to be a little interesting to see for the next game if Mahaney gets to start. He was 4 for 5 from the floor, 2 for 2 for 3, 5 from 6 from the free throw line. I mean, the other two guys, Stewie and Ross, normally they would start, but man, they had tough games today. I mean, a little bit tougher than I think. So probably not, but Mahaney's numbers were fantastic. So.
We got to stack some games. Doug, appreciate you jumping in, man. Don't be 2 weeks. Don't be a stranger for 2 weeks. Come back when we continue to do these live shows. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. I'll say this. I don't think the lineup is changing at all. Like I think from now, like we could all I would love to see Ahmad. I would love to see Isaiah Abraham. I would love to see what they could do on the floor right now. But he's just not budging. And that's okay because they're still winning. And they won today in a against a rival. I always put that in quotation marks because I always get frustrated when UConn starts slow against Providence because it's the only way that team sticks around is if UConn starts and punches back early, it's like a 20-point game, in my opinion. Maybe 15, but that was my biggest issue.
I saw some tweets during the game that I didn't see the broadcast. So obviously, I was at the game, but saying that the atmosphere was just electric. It was. It got a little. It was loud in the second half. Kim English on the sidelines was coaching his tail off. His entire staff was doing everything to win this game. They're 7-7 coming into it. They needed this game probably to build any semblance of a resume. They're not going to make the tournament. They're 7-8 now. They probably just don't have enough time. But they're down a guy, so he was really coaching his tail off. And there was blood in the water in the first half. There was a great opportunity for them to try to pick up and sneak a win if they were going to start building a resume. But like you said, tale of two halves. Something to note just for the fans that keep calling in, asking, is this lineup going to change? Is the starting rotation? Just because a guy plays well doesn't mean he's going to get to start. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. What they're doing is
mess
working.
With Happy.
They're saving Terrace Reed's minutes. Like, he's a total spark plug for them coming in. Like you said, Mark, they let him go for 8-10 minutes, and every single possession he was engaged in, negating shots, altering shots, getting blocks from behind off the glass, gets a couple buckets on the offensive end. You need that spark plug, especially in a game like today, like hostile environment. It was loud. Active whistle, you need a guy like that to just insert himself sometimes, and today it worked.
Tyler, what you got, man? I saw a couple of big runs. We haven't seen a ton of those this year. I think they had a 13-0 run going into a kill shot +3. What were your thoughts on UConn's offense? Because to me, it looks clunky, but it's still efficient.
Well, that's what I was kind of wondering. Like, does you're halfway through the season almost. Like, do you think Hurley kind of takes like a different philosophy and tries to beat teams by scoring more points? And since they're not as good of a defensive team, maybe you try to push the tempo a little bit and get more shots up because you do have depth. It's not depth in the sense that like no one has really announced themselves as like the 6th, 7th, 8th man, right? So they are going 9 deep in their roster. Like, can they play a little bit faster, get more shots up, and just win on offensive efficiency? I don't know. These are, it's for me, just trust the process. Like they're 12-3. They've won 8 games since Maui. Imagine if they went 2-1 in Maui and they were sitting 15-1. Would we have the same questions? Like, I don't know.
Nope.
Are we
probably not? Because they'd be like number 3 or 4 in the country.
Because we saw how bad Maui was, and like they've won 8 games in a row against good competition. So I think, and in this game, they were down 14 points in the second half, right? And they came back and won. And Hurley has told us that these games are going to be grinds, and that's what's happening. So let's just trust Hurley. I think that's literally all you can do. It's like this guy's won back-to-back in a dominating fashion.
Tyler, you said that they only shot 13 or 14 threes today, but I think it was at a 45% clip. Like, you can't be mad at
6
that.
or 13. Yeah.
You look at the scoreboard in the second half. I mean, they score 60 points and they score 86 points in the game. It's like, what? You can complain about some things, but at the end of the game, they're putting up points and they're winning. So
yeah, no, totally. Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, if he considers that. I have no idea. It's just that's why I'm not a coach and I don't get paid the million.
Be nice though. It'd be nice to get paid a couple $1 million to coach. I think for me, real quick, I'm going to take a break and then I'll come back because then we have Ryan and Jay Ross, or Ross J, not Jay Ross. I don't want to confuse anybody. So I'm going to go take one last break, and then we'll finish up the show. Here we go. All right, game time. You guys know what time it is. Yeah, it's game time. If you're attending the new 12-team college football playoff, it has to be an incredible experience. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So I don't know about you guys. If someone's looking for Notre Dame, Penn State, or I think it's Ohio State and Texas, Gotta use the Game Time app. You can do views from your seats. They have super deals, things that stand out. They have the best value for the event. I love that you could see the seat view before you buy. Plus, there's a one-time ticket delivery and the lowest price guarantee, and it gives you complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're back on Locked On UConn with Tyler Remick and Dan Meehan. Let's get who was first. I think Ryan was first. Let's get Ryan in here. Ryan, what you got for me,
guys? How you guys doing? Oh my God, what a game! So entertaining, especially in that second half. Like just the resolve that this team showed, unbelievable. Like after they went down double digits going into the half, and then like there was that stretch in the second half where they were hitting shots, but then Providence would hit them right back to keep the lead at double digits. That was unbelievable that they weren't shaken by that, and it was really impressive. And I think that is such an encouraging sign for the rest of the season. And I remember, I think it was Bernie who said it at the start of the pod, that it's a bad day to be an Aiden Mahaney hater. It's also a bad day to be a Hassan Diarra hater. Because I still see people, at least people who aren't in UConn circles, who are saying that like, oh, Hassan Diarra is not good enough. Every single game, Hassan Diarra is showing why he deserves to be in the starting lineup, why he deserves more national attention. He is so good, and I cannot wait to see what he's doing for the rest of the season.
19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists tonight.
Incredible. Like I was high
10 of 11 from the free throw line.
Yeah, that's impressive too. Like I was high on Hassan going into the season. I thought he was just going to be like that, veteran stabilizing force, maybe come in, maybe even off the bench, get like 6 points a game and just be that kind of stabilizing force. Every single game he shows that he's capable of more than that. And I think
it's needed too. It's so necessary. Like there's spots in these games where the ball is going around the perimeter and it's just not getting anywhere. And Hassan he kind of bailed them out a couple times, not only tonight, but the last few games. And it's been in times of need. He made that baseline jumper kind of floater circus shot at the end of the shot clock late in the game. It's just like plays like that have really been stacking up for him in the second half of these games recently.
I think it was against Butler where he had that crazy shot like at the end of the shot clock that, kept it a 2-possession game.
The ones in the first half aren't going in, but I'll take the ones in the second half.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like if you guys ever are on or watching my facial expressions, it's because I have the chat open, and some of the things that you guys say in the chat makes me want to jump through the screen and slap you across the face. Because, and I mean that with all the most loving sincerity of like a big brother. I don't mean that like I want to hurt you. I'm saying like just wake up. Like it's a team. All these guys are playing roles. Like. It's never going to be as dominant as it was last year. And if it is, then awesome. We'll revel in that. This team is continuing to win. The comments are always like, oh man, Haas had a really tough first half. Who gives a rip? Who cares? That's the first one. Number 2, we need Jay Ross and Jay Stu to get going. You don't think they're trying? Do you think Dan Hurley's going, we're good. We got 15 points from Aiden Mahaney tonight. So you guys can keep having 0 points and 4 points today. Like, who cares? Like, guys.
Something to also keep in mind, like
it drives me insane. Anyway,
some of these rotational things, like you can complain about Sampson not having a great first half. He didn't. It might be part of the scout and the game plan to save Terrace for the second half. When the other team is exhausted and you bring in a 280-pound grizzly bear to wear you down. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Tyler, can you build a dashboard for that?
Ball.
Yeah. Well, what do you want?
Grizzly bear dashboard.
Yeah.
Ryan, were you at the game, or were you watch on? Did you watch on TV?
No, I was just watching it on my illegal stream.
I love it. Don't say that too loud. I don't want you to get in trouble. All right, I'm gonna get Ross J in here if you don't mind.
No problem, guys. Appreciate everything.
Right,
take care.
Later. Ross J, what up?
Hey, can you hear me?
Of course.
Excellent. Man. Hey, I saw this game live, and it's the first time I've done camp again. Uh-oh.
Whew. That sounded like
you must be inside Gamble Pavilion still.
No, that sounded like a road trip when you're trying to get radio signal. All right, one more time, Ross J. Let's see if it's back. see if you're back.
Can you hear me?
Hear you now.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I saw this game live, man. So it's the first time I've come to Gamble this year. Season ticket holder at the Civic Center, which is not exactly the greatest experience. This game, folks have been saying all about, like, Diarra coming through and Terrace Reed kind of doing what he needed to do. But at the end of the day, Providence came to beat UConn today, and they did everything they possibly could to get this win. I think the biggest difference was 6-man, Gamble Pavilion. That place was rocking tonight like nothing you've ever seen before. I think we played the energy game, right? They fed off of us. We would not let them lose. I think this was the biggest momentum builder, because if this game is in the Civic Center, I don't think we come out of that. I mean, we got beat on the boards. They stepped back shooting threes. All the hustle plays went to Providence ways. Everything was going against that. The ref was against us once again, right? But the difference this time was the 6-man, right? Gamble Pavilion would not let UConn lose tonight. That's all I got to say.
You're the man, dude. Appreciate you. I'm gonna jump out. All right. Last comment, Tyler. What do you think going forward?
Going forward, I guess I've been kind of texting it to you guys. I think this isn't the next 4 or 5 games without Liam, however many it is. I think it's just grinding, and this is the adversity. This is what Hurley's been talking about. It's going to be a grind, and but this is necessary, right? When you reflect back on the last 2 teams, like last year's team had 4 point guards, right? Yep. Steph could be point guard, Tristan could be point guard, Haas and Cam. The year before that, you had Andre Jackson, Tristan Newton, Hassan Diarra was your third point guard. You had Calcaterra who could handle the ball, and Naheem Aline. Like, they just had depth, and I want to see more from Solo in that regard. I guess I feel like there's a fast break in the first half, and Haas took it. Haas ended up scoring. But you see Sol, he just sagged off to the 3-point line. He's got to attack there. Because if Hassan misses, that's what Alex would do, right? He's there, he gets the miss, he puts it back up. Sol just kind of faded to the 3-point line. And I know he's one of the best 3-point shooters in all the country, right? But he needs to be more than that. And I feel like I feel like he's just settling for that 3-point line. But maybe that's what Hurley wants, right? So it's hard to
I'm always curious about that, because after last year, right before the NCAA tournament, we had Michael Cohen on, who wrote the article about Hurley's transformation from defensive, Virginia style defense and rock fight games after the Teddy Allen game, to essentially transform this into an analytic driven offensive machine. It was called we did a show called How to Build a Juggernaut, right? How to build an offensive juggernaut. And so he essentially brought in Jordan Hawkins and was like, all you're going to do is hunt threes and quality twos. And so I think that's part of Solo's kind of DNA right now. The one thing I would say is I would love to see him attack more when a team like Providence plays like this on you, and they're fouling you and you're grabbing your jersey and stuff like that. Blow by a guy, and then they'll back off a little bit. I think that's the biggest thing.
He's made that shot he hit when they were I think Hassan hit a 3-pointer, then Jaden Pierre hit a 3-pointer, then I think was it Solo hit a 3 that jumper.
Yeah, it was back and forth, like a fadeaway.
Jumper in the corner, and he went crazy. Dude, his footwork, just watch his feet. He squares up to the basket so fast. He didn't do that last year. But granted, he didn't play as much, but I didn't remember that quick twitch, just square up. Because when you're shooting, it's all about footwork, squaring to the basket and just keeping that nice smooth stroke at the basket. And he's an elite shooter. It's unreal. But he possesses that athleticism that Jordan Hawkins didn't have, right? At least I don't remember Jordan Hawkins being this high flying,
No, I think you're right. I think, and also too, and then I'm gonna get Dan's thoughts, but I think part of it too is we had my guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. God darn it, he's a athletic scout, Tobias Bass, who's Solo's a pro. He is exactly what these guys look for, because even though he's not 6'6", he has a wingspan that's 6'10". So he's long, he's fast, he jumps, he's a 45-inch vertical leap. So you're right. He is not something to be played with athletically. And you saw it in the first half when he went to the hoop and he laid it up with his right. So he can do these things. It's just a matter of I don't know the answer to this. Maybe when I go off one of these games, and I have a chance to ask Dan Hurley himself, like asking him, like, is that part of Solo's responsibility? Is he a guy that you want attacking the basket more, or is his role literally to kind of hunt threes and only good twos, like, that kind of stuff? So that's my thoughts.
I expected him to be more of like a high flyer at the rim in combination of being a good shooter, but I also didn't shoot. He went 2 for 4 today. He's gonna be close to 50% from the 3-point line. So it's hard to argue that you don't want him doing nothing but shooting threes, because that's an insane rate. He's hitting them at an insane rate. And they're also very tough shots. He's not, he's ripping off screens. He's not just hitting, my game was just sitting at the 3-point line and shooting, right? Like he's ripping off screens. He catch, shoot. Like those are very, very difficult shots, and he's hitting them at a high clip. But I guess I want to see Solo do more on the defensive end, right? Because we talk about this length. Why aren't we seeing these kind of like, he kind of lacks like the dog on the defensive end, right? Like the Hassan Diarra, he needs to get into people's, stuff a little bit more and wreak a little bit more havoc on the defensive end.
For sure. Dan, what you got for me? Last comment, and then we're going to close it up.
Yeah, we talked a couple times about how game to game, the scout is different, whether it's Kamani's or Luke Murray's. Something I noticed today, just kind of in the arena, is that Kamani sits right next to Dan and was kind of super animated, coaching on his feet a lot more than Luke. I have a feeling that today's scout was Kamani. So next game, I think we're headed out to Villanova Wednesday. Look for that. So maybe it's Luke Murray's game. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I don't have too many complaints. It's not going to look as easy as it did the last 2 years. It's just not. The baskets are hard to come by, but the efficiency is still there. Like this team, field goal percentage wise, 3-point percentage wise, free throw percentage wise, are all up compared to the last 2 years. If I'm not mistaken, I'll check that.
Pretty wild, right?
But they're the number 2 offensive team in the country behind Auburn. The defense needs some more consistency, from after getting back out on the offensive end. Like they need to be better defensively, no question. It allowed, some of their deficiencies allowed Providence back in that game after a 26-5 run, and it was close at the end. But their offensive efficiency is what's winning them these games right now. So I don't have any complaints there. We just have to get better defensively.
All right, I'm going to close the show by saying this. Quick look at the box score. Everything that Dan said is correct. And one of the biggest things that UConn was having an issue with, they're in the 300ths of playing of teams that defend the three. It's back-to-back games now where they've held their opponent to 30% or under. Today, Providence only shot 4 of 13 from 3, which is 30.8%, so maybe 31% still. That's a crappy percentage. They shot 50% from the floor, so the defense still is having issues staying in front of people. But on the offensive side, 56.3% from the field and 46.2% from 3. Like Tyler said, Solo Ball hit 2 threes. Aiden Mahaney hit 2 threes, didn't miss a 3. Hassan hit a 3. Alex hit 1, and the rest kind of sprinkled it. 1 miss from Jalen, 1 miss from Jaden. So the team as a whole is incredibly efficient. 84% from the free throw line. They got out rebound. That's exactly what we don't want to have happen, but I have a feeling that will be sorted out. This is another one of those games where this is the playbook against UConn. Think about Xavier. 29 field goals made, 9 assists. Today, Providence, 30 field goals made. Don't look at the box score. If someone can, if you're in the chat right now, how many assists did Providence have? And then we're going to get off, because I guarantee you, if you're close, I'll send you like a t-shirt or a hat or something cool. Because
that was something that I took note of in the arena. You look up at these incredible video boards. Like, I don't know what we did before we had these in the arena, because there was nowhere that had any stats for the games. But end of the first half, Providence was shooting, I think, 55% from 3. They were killing us 26-12 in the rebounding game. Like, that's something I haven't seen in a decade from UConn, getting out rebounded that bad. But once again, this team has to do more coaching than they have the last 2 years, and they're doing it. The second half adjustments, and remember, one of my favorite things of the Belichick era as a Patriots fan, even if you're getting beat in the first half, you knew when those guys had 15 to 20 minutes to deliberate in the locker room, they were going to come out for the second half a different team. And UConn is doing that game in and game out. The personnel changes, the little switches here and there, all those tweaks and those strings they're pulling, Hurley, Kamani, Luke at halftime, they're all working. It was the difference in the game today, those personnel changes. So just something to keep note of going forward in these next few games.
Yeah, I think this.
Guess what? Hold on, Tyler. This trend is going to continue because this is Villanova's game. They're going to ISO you with Wooga Poplar. They're going to ISO you with Eric Dixon. So if you're ready to pull your hair out again and be bald like me, that's exactly what's going to happen this next game against Villanova. So be ready and see if they make some adjustments on the defensive side. Tyler, last word.
No, that's what I was going to say. I think Villanova kind of poses a tough matchup for UConn, especially just because Dixon is going to be able to push Sampson around, but then he also shoots 7 threes a game, so he can pull Terrace out away from three. So I think this will be dare I say this is upset alert. I think if UConn can win this game, this would be an impressive win for UConn without Liam.
Mark, I just have one question. Are you in front of your computer?
I am.
Can you please confirm that Gerard Mayo has been fired?
He has.
Let's go. I'm going home. Time to celebrate.
All right, guys. It's been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto. We have Dan Meehan and Tyler Remick with us today. As always, another win for the Wizard of UConn of Stores. We need to get that, what we call Dan, because if they even come close to the three-peat, you had Wooden was the Wizard of Westerwood or Westwood. What could we got to come up with a name for Hurley for Stores? Maybe the Saint of Stores, because he's big religious Catholic like that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But this has been another episode of Locked On UConn. As always, go Huskies.
Go Huskies.